Well, what is personal growth? And just in the definition of what we're talking about, we can begin to see that it's a multifaceted conversation. Because on one hand, personal growth is learning how to understand ourselves and what happened to us at an early age. Some people describe this as childhood traumas or our limiting beliefs. And through that self-awareness and that understanding, learn how to reduce the amount of stress or overwhelm or feeling not good enough in our lives. And that begins to open up more possibilities. It starts to unlock energy. There's a direct correlation as we do this work to understand and heal the past with the expansion of our nervous system, our capacity to have more emotional range, and our ability to begin to dictate the circumstances around us rather than be reactive to them. That would be one way to look at personal growth. Another way to look at personal growth would be deepening our connection to spirit, acknowledging and recognizing that all things are what we could call consciousness. Like all things are, as the Hermetics called it, the great one, or the all, or as the Buddhists called it, the great shining body of radiance that has no beginning or no end. Some people describe it as God or Jesus or Allah or the universe or the unified field. But it's really the only thing that exists. And as individual souls, we come into a body for an individual experience. We are this higher power, having what seems like a separated, individuated experience. And so part of personal growth is connecting back into that great body of intelligence. And when we do that, we have increased levels of intuition, vibrancy, health, financial prosperity. Another way to look at what personal growth is, which I think is this next step beyond where we've been, which has been a lot of motivation, a lot of philosophies, a lot of inspiration that's sort of been distorted into this mutant version of personal growth, which is hustle and grind. And I'm speaking from an experience of thinking that that was what self-help or personal growth is. But a down regulation of our nervous system, learning how to operate more from a parasympathetic, from a rest and relaxation. We gain that when we're operating in faith, when we're operating not separated, but with a belief that we're co-creating with a great intelligence that is around us and within us. And it's an actual rewiring of the brain. It's transforming neural networks or neural synaptic connections in our brain that represent memories of misunderstanding that cause us painful emotions. And as we transform those memories into a greater understanding of love and appreciation and forgiveness, we become more powerful and we're able to have a powerful living experience. And so all of these things are part of the conversation of personal growth. And where I started in my own personal growth journey was through 12-step recovery. I was what I thought pursuing success as an entrepreneur and as a human being, but I wasn't dealing with the underlying emotions that were wanting to come up and be transformed so that I could actually increase my capacity and achieve the vision that I have for my life and the reason why I'm here on this planet. It's all part of the process. We take our wounds and we transform them into our personal power. And I was using drugs and alcohol and sex and work to not deal with those emotions and memories that were coming up wanting to be transformed. I did that probably really from the age of 13 through my early 30s. And when it got to a point that my life had become unmanageable, I was running a venture-backed technology company with about 30 employees. And when I wasn't working, I was drinking, I was drugging, I was sexing, I was abusing pornography. I got into a 12-step program. You know, I was very, very fortunate that the discomfort in my own life was life-threatening. You know, most people, it's not life-threatening in the sense of life or death. It's life-threatening in the sense that if we don't embark on this journey of personal growth and make that a commitment to a daily practice, we can live an unfulfilled life, meaning we never fulfill on the hopes and dreams we have and the potential that's possible for us. And so I started working a 12-step program. The 12 steps are a really incredible technology for addressing the underlying causes of addiction, which are the thoughts, the habits of emotion that I was experiencing on a day-to-day basis that were causing me pain that I wasn't looking at. And so for about 18 months, I went to 3 12-step meetings a week. I got a sponsor. I was working the 12 steps. I'll go into detail on the 12 steps in another episode because it's a beautiful, wonderful technology that all of us can benefit from. I was seeing a therapist on a weekly basis. I was attending a men's group. My recovery became my life. Just like today, personal growth is the priority in my life. I mean, personal growth, in a sense, is the priority above my family. It's above my business, because if I commit to my own growth, I become so much more for everyone around me. And so it is a priority. And back then it was a priority because my life was truly at risk, whether it was drunk driving or acting out sexually in a way that would have been illegal or caused personal harm to myself. Same thing with my marijuana abuse. And so through this process over 18 months, I started to become aware of my own thinking, and I started dealing with the underlying emotions and thoughts. And as a result of working this program, I started gaining sobriety. I started becoming happier, and I became more curious about what was possible in my own self-growth, and I got into personal development. And in order to get into personal development, I think to have your club card, you've got to start reading the books. So I made my first venture to a bookstore, bought a little book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, which was the beginning of my educational journey outside of recovery. And after consuming the books, I ended up going to the events. I did the Landmark Forum and a variety of Landmark Series education. I went to the Tony Robbins events. I sought spiritual education. Carol, my wife, and I went to India. We studied there for 3 weeks. I started getting into other tools and techniques like meditation and breath work. I started to understand that these emotions that we have over time become stored in the body, and I started doing what's called somatic or body work to start allowing the trapped emotions at a cellular level to begin to release so that I could heal those traumas. But what I found over time was that I knew a lot of the information. I understood limiting beliefs. I understood this concept of surrender and allowing in life. I knew that anger expressed in an unhealthy way didn't serve me. I understood that I was good enough, but I still felt not good enough. I knew intellectually that there really were no wrong decisions in life, that spirit gives us an opportunity to experiment and play, and we learn from every decision we make, but I still lived in a lot of indecision. I knew intellectually that I could and maybe even should appreciate what other people were accomplishing, but I still found myself comparing myself to other people, especially through my social media feed. And so that continual underlying discomfort or disturbance in my force drove me to continue to explore. And that's what created the work that Carol and I do today and the community that we've built. Really this desire to go beyond just being aware of our own thinking, but knowing how to actually transform our thoughts. And that's a significant distinction because knowing the information can be helpful, but embodying and integrating who you are into that understanding, that's really the key that unlocks personal power, peace, serenity. And so that's what we're going to be exploring today. I think a lot of people are stuck in self-help. I think a lot of people become addicted to personal growth. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think it's part of the process. I think a lot of the spiritual and personal growth teachers up until now, and even now, struggle with the embodiment piece. You can teach calm, but that's different than being calm. You can teach faith and trust and the importance of it, but that's different than being faithful and trusting rather than controlling. And so a lot of what is happening now is a great transition from the information that had been disseminated since the time of Christ and before. If you really look at the Bible, it's a book about how to become a greater version of yourself and connect with consciousness and live in the flow of the intelligence of life. And prior to that, there were Eastern teachings that really echoed the same themes, all the way up to great teachers in the 1800s and 1900s with the New Thought movement, William Walker Atkinson, Raymond Charles Barker, the Unity Church movement, certain sects of Christianity. All religions in some way, shape, or form have been communicating this message that we can be as great as the spiritual teachers, and that there is a power greater than us that is caring for us on a moment-by-moment basis, and that, frankly, we're making it a lot harder than we need to. And so struggle oftentimes leads to an exhaustion that creates an acquiescence and a relaxing. It's like you get so tired of the struggle that you finally relax. And you almost give up. In addiction, we call it hitting your bottom. And when you hit your bottom, you're open to receiving something different. You sort of give up your own control. And that's what happened in my own journey. Even as a teacher and starting to teach back in 2014, 2015, I was being driven a lot by my ego and wanting to grow a business and seeing a lot of communication out there around hustle and grind. We see that today. There's some very popular social media influencers in the personal growth space that are talking about hustling and grinding and getting up early and beating out your competition. And that's part of the old resonance of personal growth. The new resonance that's emerging is a lot more elegant. It's more graceful, meaning it brings spirit or God or the universe into the conversation in a more meaningful way. It's less about you making an effort and having to drive and push and hustle and grind. And it's more about a collaboration between us and spirit, a collaboration with each other, and understanding that if we want to create anything in our lives, any type of solution, that it's not really dependent upon us. We play a role, we receive an inspiration, and we take some action. But then there's this co-creative force that is also at work. And so I want to talk a moment about that, because there's an opportunity to really distill down this personal growth conversation into a couple of things. Number one, I think it's worth defining what mindset is. Mindset is the developed capacity to utilize your mind to reorganize and rewire your brain and your nervous system. And it's the most important skill that you can possibly develop. And it's a beautiful thing that it's a skill, because anyone can learn it. I've never met anybody who's more advantaged at mindset than another person. It's just understanding that the name of the game of personal growth is actually changing your brain and changing your nervous system. That's what it is. It's not hustle. It's not grind. It's not hope. It's not just meditation. That's a great tool. It's not just gratitude. That's a great practice. But the container for the conversation is we as a species are really unique in the sense that not only can we become aware of our own thinking, but we can actually rewire our own electrical mechanical structure. We can change our own brains. And what's happening right now is, as science and spirituality or wisdom teachings and psychology are converging, it gives us an opportunity to step onto the leading edge of the evolution of our own species. You know, when a species evolves, we normally think of it as, a bird that develops bigger wings or a longer beak, or something that goes from being amphibious and spending some time underwater and some time on land to spending full time on land. Right? There's an evolutionary process. But what's happening right now with humanity is that there are some human beings whose nervous systems and brains are changing different than the rest of humanity. And that change is a healing of our past misunderstandings that are stored in our brain, and a realignment of our nervous system so that we're not consistently operating from fight, flight, or freeze, the sympathetic expression of our nervous system, which is really an old nervous system. It's an ancient nervous system. And those of us who are in this type of work, the leading edge of personal growth, understanding that this is really about neurobiological change, are using tools and techniques and practices and community and fellowship along with the information to actually operate more consistently from parasympathetic, from rest and relaxation. Hey, it's David. Hop on over to davidbear.com. Click right here. There's also a link in the show notes, and sign up for our newsletter. You'll get immediate access to my free Mind Hack ebook, as well as a couple of trainings to help you master the inner game. This is a great way to stay informed and be a part of our community and be notified of special announcements. Click below, head on over to the website, get subscribed. If you loved this video, make sure you check out this one or this one, and I will see you in the next video.